again to you. We're so delighted to have you for our new show, Headliners of Hope. And we're talking with people who are hope filled and who bring hope to our communities. And today we are so excited to have with us Patricia Assui Reed of Matriarch. Tell us what Matriarch is and welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sujay, for having me. It's an honor to be here. Matriarch. Well, Matriarch is a platform that celebrates women and LGBTQI plus owned businesses
Wonderful.
and in all their glory and everything that they how they contribute to society and to society in general. Yes.
Well, I thank you because when I first came, I'm an author, and you had celebrated me with a book signing and just filled in that room with so many wonderful women filled with joy. So I want to thank you for being
My
open to our
pleasure.
community.
Of course.
So when I come from New York City and I'm driving in that 2.5 hour drive and I get onto Main Street in Sag Harbor, I see beautiful decorations, usually around Christmas time. Can we look at the outside of your Matriarch? Do you call it a store or you call it a
Well,
platform?
that is our shop. We have a platform with the newsletter and other activations,
Ah,
but that's our brick and mortar store.
so this is the outside. This is one of the spring days. And you put
Yes.
some wonderful, wonderful outside. Tell us what we're looking at in terms of what's hanging outside this
Oh,
day.
these are beautiful vintage buoys that I sourced from this wonderful woman. And we wanted to give the whole, harbor vibe. I
Yes.
actually got inspired by Billy Joel's house
Oh, yes,
and his
yes.
decorations, but we painted every season to just refresh and change the colors.
And it looks beautiful. So
Thank you.
that's the outside. Now let's look inside. Now this is the store, and then we're going to talk more about the larger platform. But let's look inside and just share with us some of the wonderful rooms. So tell us
Oh,
about
yes. So
this.
this is our shop and shop from Another Tomorrow, which is an amazing brand based in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
They are a sustainable brand and very conscious in how they source all of their products. So
Wow.
also
And what's
women.
the next slide there, please?
This is also the table in Another Tomorrow with their beautiful denim and sweaters that are featured in the front um, room in Matriarch.
And next slide, please.
All Another Tomorrow.
Now tell us
Oh,
about this, Women Unite.
so I was looking into like celebrating Women's Day many years ago, and I was researching and I came upon this photo, and I just thought, this is so interesting. And then upon more research, I realized this was the first Women's March and on Fifth Avenue in New York City.
My goodness.
I lived in New York for many years. My
Yes.
children were born in New York, and it's something about her facial expression, of course,
I
the
love it.
message.
Was that when
Um,
Letty Pogorvin and others from Ms. Magazine were involved in that march?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And, I feel like it was such a moment that they registered because it was obviously, not posed.
Exactly. So
And
you can
the
see the
message was
expression.
so clear, yes.
So I have a group called Women on the World Stage, and we do platforms for women to be prepared for the world stage, whatever that stage is, whether it's in business or a faith leader, caring for your community. And so we have a similar interest in making sure
Mm,
that women's voices, however they're portrayed, are able to happen. So
yes.
tell us about Matriarch, the platform. We've seen the
Yes.
store, and it's beautiful. And inside, I just stay there for hours just
Thank you
looking and
so
shopping.
much.
But tell us about the platform, how you started that, when you started it, and why.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I started Matriarch to really try to really almost like encourage women to be business owners because
Mm-hmm.
I find that I come from a corporate world as well. I was
Yes.
in fashion for a long time, and climbing that ladder was very hard and continues to be hard for women.
Yes.
We know that in starting fashion school, there's majority of the fashion school population is women,
Yes.
and then as they go up the ladder in fashion, it starts to dwindle down.
Right.
So I thought, okay, you can fight the corporate world as well. However, the easiest way, it's not so easy, but for me, the more natural way would be for you to own a business because you can own the decisions. You can really
Exactly.
call the shots.
Exactly.
So that was one of the things. So I started the store in Sag Harbor because I moved to the town,
Yes.
6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one way to start. But the brick and mortar is amazing and it's great, but there's only so many women-owned business I can feature because I have the constraint of the space.
Exactly.
And so I thought that I needed to expand the platform to something that would reach more people and I could feature more people.
Mm-hmm.
So we already had a newsletter that was thriving. I write the newsletter myself. I've been writing the newsletter for 5 years.
Wow.
It is a message from me to you. It's not a group of people that writes.
Which is so important because you personalize it and humanize it, exactly, and feminize
Yes.
it, all of the
Yeah.
above.
And it's fun for me because I do want to write about things that matter and sometimes just about shopping. But basically, this platform allows me to feature any brand, any book writer, any woman or LGBTQ person that I feel like it or I feel it's important without the physical constraints of the store. And one complements the other. So
I
the
love it.
idea,
I would love to be on your mailing list, number one.
great.
But I also run the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce that started here in
Oh,
Sag Harbor. And it's a platform for women businesses, many of whom started during the COVID experience and said, I'm
yes.
leaving corporate America, or I was shut down from corporate America,
Mm.
and I need to have something to fall back on. So we're building Black women-owned businesses, which are the fastest growing actually in America. 48% of the new businesses are Black women-owned.
I did not know that. That's
Yeah,
incredible
yeah.
statistics.
But
That's
we have
amazing.
trouble scaling and
Yeah,
sustaining.
yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do with this chamber, really help
Mm.
people get on their feet and then really grow and blossom.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So how did you find Sag Harbor? I mean, you were corporate America in New York City. What attracted you to Sag Harbor?
Well, I've been coming to the Hamptons for a long time just as a vacationer, and my husband and I would rent places in different towns to just see, to understand where we would eventually would like to purchase a house eventually. And Sag Harbor for me was always our favorite because there was a mix of historical
Yes.
buildings. There's obviously a very rich history in Sag Harbor, but also family, very, very family oriented and family friendly. People
Yes.
are low key, down to earth. The businesses on Main Street is a mix of, very old local, like
Yes,
the
yes.
variety store with new stores. All of that mix really was very attractive to us as a family. And of
Yes.
course, the school, the Sag Harbor School, we have children school age.
Mhm.
I thought the school was fabulous. And
One of the
so
best school systems in America, actually.
amazing, incredible. And shout out to Mr. Malone at elementary school, who
Yes.
really was such a big, influence in our decision because he's so fabulous. And the morning program that they do at elementary school was very attractive. So all of those factors
Oh, that's great.
made us come to Sag Harbor. Yeah.
So now talk about starting a business. Of course, you have the corporate mindset, you understand finances, you understand ordering and things like that. But what makes a successful business? And that's the assumption that it is successful. What makes a successful business?
It's very interesting because it's so different than corporate.
Yeah.
It's very different. It's actually shockingly different because in corporate, everybody was in their silos and everybody was in their boxes.
Right.
It wasn't until I worked for ABC Carpet and Home for many years, and
Oh.
that company was sort of my first entry into entrepreneurship, even though it was a large store. There was an owner. She was present, Paula Cole, who was my mentor, and I'm still in touch with her. She's amazing. But she was there. She was hands-on. But she also had to be very creative. She had to improvise. And so I think entrepreneurship, you have to be willing to improvise and to make
Yes.
mistakes and
Okay.
to not care so much about your own failures
Yes.
and to test. And so you can't, like, when you start, you don't know anything.
You start,
You have no idea. I've had so many iterations of my store and I had to try so many new things. And you also have to let go of perfectionism, which is
That's
my
important.
biggest challenge.
Yes.
Because when you start, you have to just start with what it is and
Make something out of it. You have a couple of lemons, you can make lemonade, you can make a lemon slice, a pound
could
cake.
be all
But
kinds
you
of things.
exactly, but you have to start with what you have. Some people call it the deck that you've been played,
That's right.
the hand that you've been
But
dealt.
it changes so much too
Yeah.
because you have a vision of a business, but then when you start to put it into practice, you realize that, oh, this doesn't work, this works, maybe I'll go this way. And it's okay to pivot at all times. You have to have a vision, but pivot as you need. You have to.
How did COVID pandemic affect business?
Well, for us in the Hamptons, as you know, here we had a huge influx of people.
Yes, I ended up living here year round as a result.
And so for the business, it was positive. I mean,
Mhm.
it was hard to operate in that environment. I mean, it was
Yeah.
obviously it was dangerous, it was hard, but it was good for business.
Great.
The Hamptons, the challenge of being in the Hamptons is that it is so seasonal,
Yes,
and
yes.
it's hard for business owners, for independent business owners. If you have one business here and you have 4 to 5 months maximum to really make it, it's almost impossible. It's really hard.
So we see so much turnover on Main Street and the side
Mm.
streets. What is the key to your success? I mean, we have all the seasons still happen. How do you make it through the winter and through the spring?
It's very difficult. And this is something that I wanted to bring up for everybody that lives, the residents in the Hamptons, that to try to really support your local businesses in the winter, because it's a very difficult time.
Mhm.
So you have to do all your reserves are in the summer, and then
Yes.
you use those reserves all over the winter.
Yes.
And it's sometimes you don't have enough reserves. Sometimes you have to take a loan. Sometimes you have to be creative to come up with all kinds of things. And so, our it's not easy. Every season we have to come up with something different. We do need to engage a lot of our customers during the summer, so a lot of events are
Mhm.
very important.
Yes.
It's hard because the Hamptons are, overloaded with events all
All
summer.
summer, yes.
It's hard, but you have to do it because that's how you're gonna have that extra business.
Well, hopefully we can collaborate on some things and bring some business
Yes.
to you and to ourselves as well.
Yes.
So you mentioned a mentor that you still have from the ABC corporate. Does one find a mentor? Does a mentor choose you? Talk about mentoring, because many people come into our chamber and say, we want a mentor, but how does that happen?
I think the best way, and I find it's not easy, but the best way is to go through your professional life and find those people that you can really look up to,
Yes.
And so sometimes you don't have any, and that's okay. When you move on to your next job, then you find that person. And I think, and to truly ask and say, can you mentor me? Can you help me? And ask
Yes.
questions. And sometimes you don't have to have a formal mentor. It's just that person that you can go in and ask questions, and sometimes you send a text message real quick, and
Exactly.
somebody that it's your sounding board that you can throw ideas, but it takes time for you to get to know that person, to work together to see if you work well.
Right,
There's
right.
chemistry, there's all kinds of, but of course there are programs that offer mentorship, so you
Right,
can
sure.
also go through the formal way. But I think the best organic way is usually the best, because then you connect with that person in a human level.
Right.
And I think that's the most important to me, is that in the human level, I connect with you. I know that we share values. I know that you understand me as a human being,
Exactly.
and then you go from there.
And it's mutual respect. So
Yes.
mentoring is one level. The new word catchphrase is master classes or masterminds, surrounding yourself with people of similar mindsets.
Yeah.
So who do you have around you, or who are you around, to kind of put some masterminds together that help you keep your vision fresh or help you be refreshed?
I think that's so important, because hopefully you get yourself surrounded by people that are smarter than you.
Yes,
right?
yes.
That's really the idea. I have several women that are friends and that are successful business people, but not in my industry necessarily.
Right,
I
right.
do have my, obviously peers in my industry, but I personally like to reach out to people that are not in my industry, because you learn so much from what they do, and you
Yes.
can apply those lessons into your own industry in a
Yes.
more creative way. It actually
Yes.
makes you more creative.
Yes.
But having a group of people, it doesn't matter how many, it can be just 3, it can be 1, but
Yes.
it can be 20 of people that you find that are leaders in their industry,
Right.
or that are really knowledgeable and passionate about what they do, and somehow they can contribute to your life. But it has to be an exchange. It cannot be just take, right? You also
So
have
sometimes
to-
it's peer to peer, but sometimes
Yes.
it's other people who are already leaders established that
Correct.
can deposit into you. But then the
Yes.
key is you're depositing into someone else
That's
also,
correct.
so that there's
Yes.
another generation of leadership.
Yes.
So there's mentoring, there's masterminds,
Yes.
marriage and family. How do you
Yes.
juggle it all?
Well, you can't really juggle it all perfectly, I think that having balance is sort of an illusion. I think
Yeah.
when you have balance in this area, maybe the other one is going to suffer a little more. I think you
Talk
have
about
to
that,
really
yes.
I think after I had children, I became very sharp about prioritizing and really managing my time.
That's important. That's critical.
You have to really be like, okay, and be able to say no to things. You
Yes.
have to say no even though you want to say yes. I've said no to many things I wanted to go because I knew I wanted to be present to my children's lives.
Exactly.
But vice versa. And sometimes, I now I'm working out. Finally, I'm getting back into a routine, which I wanted to prioritize my health.
Yes.
My
One of the things
trainer.
I've done is I get up early and I don't take my first appointment until 10 a.m.
There you go.
So that way I can work out at my pace, not feel rushed,
There you
and
go.
then settle in to do the work. And so I have very limited office hours. The people can quote them with me now, 10 to 4, Tuesday through Friday, and not
Yes.
July and August.
But that's your boundaries, and I
Yeah.
think you need to be able to be very strict with them,
You have to.
and
So
and
you have a
it's
personal
okay.
trainer, you were
I
saying?
do, and her name is Joyce Schulman. Shout out to her. That has been really changing the way I see workouts and aging.
Nice.
She's incredible and very knowledgeable. But I think this is my commitment, and I told my children, "Mommy cannot take you to school during those days because it's in the morning, or
Okay.
if you have something early, Dad is gonna take you, and that's okay." But I hope that I'm modeling that to my own children to know that they
Yes.
also have to carve out time for themselves
Very
and for
much
their
so.
health,
Very much
especially,
so.
right?
And having a partner, though, a husband that works with
yeah.
you
Oh my
and
gosh.
in syncopation
sure.
with you, which is important.
Which is
too.
so crucial, and I'm very fortunate that my husband Ron, he's a huge partner. We do everything together.
Oh, that's
and
great.
it's great.
So the next M is meals. When do you find time to eat individually, as a family? Do you make that time?
Meals for us are sacred. I
Yes.
mean, and of course, my children are still 13 and 11, so it's a little bit easier to control times.
Sure.
But for us, I grew up like this. I grew up with dinners are sacred.
Yes.
You have to show up to dinner and you have to have dinner together, and this is when you align and you talk and you have family time.
It's
And
very
so
important.
for my children, is a non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
During the day, if they're in school, my husband now is doing something else, so I cannot have lunch with him. So I try to have very healthy, balanced meals, but quick.
Okay, yeah.
But it's hard with children when you're cooking and they don't like this thing and the other one likes that thing. But we try to really stay healthy and teach them how to eat at home and to have family time.
So do you take a break in terms of real vacation, where you have
Mm.
boundaries that no one can touch except you and your family?
My family is originally from Brazil.
Okay.
And so I'm lucky
Portuguese?
that we have that Portuguese. Yes, I
Ah!
speak Portuguese.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that's my first language.
Is it really? Okay.
Yes. So I'm lucky that in the winter I have an excuse to go to Brazil, whether it's
Yes.
Christmas or a little bit later, to spend time. So
Oh,
I go
nice.
there often. Once a year I go with my kids, and then
Uh-huh.
I do some other consulting businesses there that I go, another time.
How
So
wonderful is that?
it's great. So it's either way we go there, and but I think the part of the balance that I want to change now is that my husband and I need to take some vacations alone without the kids.
Yeah, yeah,
We
that's the
haven't
new place.
been
Yeah.
able to do a whole lot, but that's something to do.
Yeah, but teen years allow you a little more flexibility now when
Yes.
they're little tiny ones. In fact, one of our guests
They
coming
are.
today had childcare issues, and that happens
There you go.
when they're younger, But now
Yeah.
you can kind of do some things. Now my
Yeah.
two sons are totally grown, 32 in October, and one is 29.
Oh.
So they come to visit now, and they bring their significant others. And so their girlfriends like coming to the beach house, which
There
is
you go.
wonderful.
Of
So I
course.
get to see my sons,
That's great.
But there's seasons, and when they were small, I was working for the government and I was
Oh my gosh.
overseas, and I would make it a point to get back to their games and their relays. One of
That's
my
hard.
sons threw in the pyramid, and it was hard. I was exhausted all the time. But they look up, even if it's for 2 minutes, and just kind of look out the corner of their eyes, see you. It makes such a difference.
It does.
The
Yeah,
presence,
It does.
you
It
know.
does.
The other thing I learned is about being fully present. If I accept an invitation, whether it's to a meeting or whatever, to really have my attention there. It goes back into priorities.
Yes.
Because I used to have all of this on my plate, and I'd be at this meeting thinking about that meeting. So
Yes.
do you do that in terms of just being fully present?
I really try. It's very hard with the busy calendar
Yes.
and multitasking kids, life, businesses. I used to be a lot less present in the past, especially when I was younger. I learned to meditate.
I was going to
You
ask you
know,
about
and
that. Yes.
yeah, that was at my time at ABC Carpet and Home, and we did a lot of things with Deepak Chopra at the
Yes.
time, and that was really truly such a privilege. And
Yes.
that started sort of my meditating journey, and I
Yes.
haven't been great about it. When I was with little kids, I stopped and started. So there's like, but I'm back at it.
Good.
So
And it
that
really settles
helps.
you.
It really does.
Settles.
It helps you a lot.
Yeah. One of our guests on this show was Christina Cuomo,
Oh, yes,
editor
of
of
course.
Purist. And so I read that regularly because she has so many things about mindfulness and meditation and just stopping. And that's kind of really the center. That's what helps me before that 10 a.m. meeting.
Yes.
You know, it's not just walking and swimming, which I love to do almost every day, but then it's the meditation. It's just the time just for me to be, you
That's
know,
right.
and then I can face whoever and whatever, you know,
That's
the
right.
day challenges present. So you talked about failures and not being a perfectionist. And I kind of say you can fail your way to success, but it's owning up to sometimes we don't do it right. Sometimes it's just not the right time or right fit. Talk about
Yes.
that.
I mean, this is where it's really hard to, first of all, women especially, I feel that we are raised to always look perfect, to be perfect, to do
Yes.
things perfectly.
Yes.
A lot is asked of us.
Yes.
We're criticized if we do this, we criticize if we do that. So that societal pressure really doesn't help us a lot.
No, it doesn't.
But as you get older, I feel like you start to own yourself, you know, and your own flaws, and you start to get to know yourself
Right.
more. And I think that's the key, I think, for accepting failure is to know yourself.
Exactly.
If
And
you
define your
know-
own terms.
That's
Yes,
right. So if you know yourself, I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not great at.
Yes. Yes.
I know that if I do this, chances are, I mean, I don't think that I'm going to fail, but I'm okay if I fail.
Right. Exactly.
And not to beat yourself up so much and for so long. I mean, you can just say, well, that didn't feel great. I hate that I failed.
Exactly.
And then try to move on as quickly as possible.
Exactly.
Really. And that's hard for me because I keep thinking, well, I should have done this and I could have done this better. And but truly, if you know yourself, you can also come to terms with the things that you know you couldn't have done.
Exactly.
And then move on.
See, I am my own brand. You know, I mean, we may wear another label, but I'm my brand and I understand who I am at this stage of life. And it's wonderful and it's fabulous.
Yes.
And when I need to change it up, I change it up. So I just finished a weight loss and workout this summer. I just lost 24 pounds. You're here with me at day 24, 24th pound.
Wow.
But it was also just a life transformation, just some changes. I went to the store, not yours. Should have come to Matriarch, but I couldn't find the size that I wore. And so I had to get this size that was in the extra, extra plus size. And I just said, that's it, you know, because I know what I want to feel like. I know what I want to look like. And I just said, it's time. So the things I put in my body, the things that I do to my body and with my body, you make those changes. And I think that's what maturity really is. And that's what, you know. So my question is, this is called Headliners of Hope.
Okay.
What are you hopeful about?
I am hopeful that women will continue to lift each other up and will continue to support each other. I think I grew up and I was born in 1970.
Oh, wow.
And when I grew up, women were not encouraged to support each other.
No.
There was a lot of competition. There was the
Totally.
whole lack of, mentality. And I'm just so happy that it's no longer, I'm happy that my child is growing up in a different sort of environment.
That's so healthy. Yes.
And I think we face a lot of adversities already, and women of color even more, as you know. And I think if you don't unite, and the whole Women Unite thing, if you don't support each other, things were never going to get better. But I think we are on our way, and I think that I do have hope that things will get better and better if we continue to just support each other and to lift each other up. That's my hope.
Recently, and I'm not sure when this airs, but recently I went to the Democratic convention, but two of my friends, my peers, actually ran the convention.
Wow.
And I came back and I sent them flowers, and I was so glad I was able to celebrate them. When you've worked in government and the political environment, people are like, so are you going to go in the administration? My thing is, that's what they do, and that's their lane, and to celebrate them. And I think that's so important for women, to celebrate each other. So throughout the year, all my organizations find a time to either celebrate at a luncheon or a dinner, what we call the trailblazers and unsung heroes. people whose names aren't called out and are not in headlights all the time.
Yes.
And so I think, we're at a really great place where we can sit together. Diversity is happening here.
Yes.
And we are confident in who we are, walking in the lane that we're supposed to look with. So I
Yeah.
guess the last question is purpose. What do you think your purpose is?
I always felt great when I was helpful in whatever way. If somebody needed information, I could find the information.
Right.
So I think my purpose is to help people somehow, whether it is through fashion, through women's, rights. I
Right.
think in however way, and I think that as I get older and as we all get older and evolve and our lives change, maybe those things will change. Like what it looks like now is through a store
Yes.
and through clothes.
Yes.
Maybe tomorrow it'll be through something else. But I think
Yes.
it's the helping makes me feel like I'm useful, that I'm doing something about that. I like to do something.
And to have the freedom to be able to have those choices.
Absolutely.
That's really
Absolutely.
what's great.
Yeah.
What was the stage going from corporate to business ownership? What was the glue that kept you together? Did you have your savings saved up? Like,
Yeah,
give
it
us
was-
like 3 quick steps, like maybe one quick step. This is almost out of time. To that segue from going from working for someone else to being your own.
Well, definitely having the savings helped, but first and foremost, even if I had all the money in the world, if I didn't think I was capable, I wouldn't have done it. But this is the trick: women don't think that they're capable most of the times, even though we are. There is all these statistics about men apply for jobs that they think it's 70% of their capability, and
Yes.
women apply when it's 100%
Yes.
of their capability. So we need to just also know, like, we need to know and get our confidence up about that. Yes, I know this business. I know what I'm doing. I can do
Exactly.
this. I probably could have done it even earlier, but I didn't think I was able to.
Okay. Okay.
But I was. So, but no money in the world will replace that knowing
Yes.
that you can do it on your own.
Well, I am so glad that you came to be with
Thanks
us
so
today. This
much.
was delightful,
Oh, thank you so
and you
much.
just, you just have helped us. Thank you for the platform you provide for women.
Count on me.
All right, and count on
Always.
me also.
Thank
Well,
you.
and thank you for joining us today. It's been awesome having you with Headliners of Hope. I'm Dr. Sujay. My guest has been Patricia Assui Reed of Matriarch here in Sag Harbor, and we are delighted to have you. Stay tuned for all the episodes that are coming up. We've had some wonderful guests, but today was amazing. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. A shout out to my production team and to LTV. Thank you so much for having us.